Hedge with the Fred hedge. Alright, Mr. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to each and every one of you. It's great to be here on this platform once again. Here, of course, it's the Max K Talk Show. This Thursday, of course, the 21st of March 2019. By next week, we'll be saying goodbye to the wonderful March. 14 months into CDC-led government. Well. Soon we'll be joined by security expert Charles E. King. We'll be here. We'll be talking about a lot about security, and we'll be talking a lot about Mama Liberia. Charles will be here. Charles will be here. And in a moment from now, actually, from the USA. But let me just let me share the music with you. Still waiting for the guests. Oh yeah, Wilfred. For me, I'm very well. Yeah. But first of all, on behalf of this show and all of our wonderful family on our platforms, we want to identify with our people in Mozambique. In Mozambique, in Zimbabwe and Malawi. The flood. So many people being swept away by the flood in those countries. Cyclone is terrible, in especially Mozambique. I could see people climbing up the trees, and water you just have on that tree, and a lot of people just dying, falling in the water, and the water carrying them away. So sorry for some of the videos I saw today. Our hearts and prayers are with our family people there in those three countries: Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. May God be with you guys. All right, let's take a short musical break and try to see if we can get in touch with our studio guest. I need to go to Sierra Leone now, eh? Alright, this is in Mende, eh? All the way there in Freetown, Sierra Leone. But we're not kusha. We're still trying to establish contact with our studio guest, Mr. Charles E. King, as security expert. We have a whole lot to cover here. As far as security is concerned, well, I started my sabu almost how many? For the whole of last month, I cut in my sabu. Until they woke up. You know me, I'm always taking the leads, isn't it? I introduce and the people take it. And I look for different something. Go on Facebook now, you see many people cooking now. Amina, Winifred, for the people of Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe, we are with you. Especially so we got some people, we got some of the family people that are always on our platforms here from those countries.
Yeah.
All right, that's from Freetown, Sierra Leone. We stayed waiting the arrival of our studio guest, the security expert Charles E. King. The Max K talk show. Still going back to Freetown, Sierra Leone. Let's see. Let's go to a big fire. At least trying to take you way back. All right, let me just share this with you on the platform. Let me visit the front page Africa while we await the arrival of our studio guest. Quickly, let's go and bring you some of the headlines here. Okay, this one says Liberians in Monrovia want government reduce Firestone taxes to save jobs. Liberians in Monrovia want government reduce Firestone taxes to save jobs. Okay, I think this has to do with the ongoing issues relevant to Firestone, thinking about laying some people down. So I think we're getting some news now from this headline. You can know now what is actually happening. Liberians in Monrovia want government reduce Firestone taxes to save jobs. And quickly, let's go to this. Liberia's vice president lament massive decline of females in, is that high school or high position? Okay, the headline is not complete, so let me continue here. Mitigate economic political crisis. We are seeks international community's blessings to save Liberia's ailing economy. Right. And this one says like major southeastern road or southeastern bridge collapsing between River G and Grand Cru County. Wow. So when the bridge is down, then that means River G and Grand Cru will fall apart, eh? So there's it's a wake-up call now for the Ministry of Public Works or the engineer battalion of the AFL to go to the aid of this particular bridge. Major southeastern bridge collapsing between River G and Grand Cru. Not really a good news there. And there's one say UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates technical team expected in Monrovia April as president. We are pleased for help. UAE technical team expected in Monrovia April as president. We are pleased for help. Oh, when you jam, you have to go. You got to beg. Don't eat crab with shin face. Oh, sometimes somebody begging again. You got to be careful who to beg. Some people. Yeah, you got to be careful who to beg. Anybody want to ask me? Say the best place I could have gone to beg would be Taiwan. Hey, your ass do. Hey, God. The late Samuel Kanye do me so rest in peace. Our young man I could remember things. The old man, he knew how to play the game that time. Yeah, the two channels, the man was following. The man fed. He was just between them, and he benefited from the both channels. You were in Milan channel. You were in Taipei, Taiwan. You will get it so. You get it so. I think it's better we stretch our hands to where the other people will say, oh, at least, yeah, you know, that friendship not bad. But be careful. All right, we're still waiting for our studio guest, but let's see that. Let me expound on this story here. Perhaps there's interest in it. Let's see here, Liberians in Monrovia want government to reduce Firestone taxes to save jobs. You know, when this story came out the last time about the redundancy and trying to put people down, 800 people and whatsoever, you know, I mean, I'm talking to somebody over the phone and say, you know what? Let's revisit our concession agreement. Even on this show, I talked to you the last time. Let's revisit the concession agreement. Because when I watched the documentary on Firestone the last time, many times, the revelation in that documentary told us that during the days of President Chancellor, when Banga and the rest of the area that was referred to as Greater Liberia, and Firestone was under their control. All right, our studio guest is calling now. Right, Mr. Kane.
Hello, Max. Can you hear me?
Good evening. How are you?
Fine. You can hear me well?
That's why I'm saying good evening, because we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I'm in a car. That's why.
Oh, fantastic. That's what technology is. Always good to be in an area where technology is good. I hope
exactly.
I hope you can help us and transfer such a technology in Liberia, where I will be in Grand Cess and call to Monrovia in my car.
There you go. It's coming, man. It's just a matter of time, man.
A matter of time. That's great. Mr. King, good evening. It's great to have you on the show. I know time difference and all of engagement and thing, but it's always better late than never, and we're never late, especially when we are about to discuss issues of relevance anyway. So thank you very much for your time and welcome.
It's my pleasure, sir. It's my pleasure. I was afraid that I had disappointed you, but when you call me and say you were on your way, I said, well, thank goodness. At least I won't be blamed for it.
Well, indeed.
I was happy. Yes, sir.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. King. We decided to call you on our platform on the Max K Talk show today, this morning or so, because of different times. It's because
yes,
we know you have extensive knowledge, understanding as to how to run security apparatus, especially whether it's private or so. As a security expert, we just want to learn from you tonight on the show here, and borrow your knowledge, and perhaps some of us can actually take that knowledge forward and apply it to wherever we are working also. So, indeed, once again, it's a great pleasure to having you on the show as well.
Well, thank you very much. I will do my very best to give whatever I can, and I'm appreciative to your confidence. So Go ahead. I will do my best.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, before I go, first of all, let's hear from the house's own mouth. If you can just a little bit tell us about Mr. Charles E. King.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah, I know
I'm
the
a,
C. I know the
I'm
C.
a,
Hold on 1 minute. I know the CV. This particular CV, the resume could be up to 6 pages long. But at least if you can, just condense it a little bit for us, so we can
no,
grasp. Yeah.
I will. The late Leslie Cole, one of the most professional and expert Liberian in the States here, he called me, quote, a consummate professional. I
Mm.
live, I breathe, I talk, I eat security and public safety. That's my field. And this Charles King likes to develop other people to be better than he is, to be better in the future. That's who I am. I like to help other people. I like to help people structure their thinking process, how to think, and how to how to promote what it is that they're talking about with facts. So that's me in a nutshell. I like to help other people be successful, to become better and more than what I am.
I love the part. You're saying this tells many people right now that are listening to you that, this sums it all. That this wonderful guest here today is a humanitarian. You say where I am, I want other people to be more than or better than the position I'm in. It takes human being to go that far anyway, because most of the times, especially as far as our settings is concerned, when we even education, when we earn a certain we are at certain level, we don't want other people to be there, but to say, look, I stop in the 12th grade, but I can support you to even get masters. That's great.
Thank you. That's great. That's it. When we are given knowledge and we are given an ability and a talent to do something, that talent is not for you. The talent is to help other people. The minute you refuse to help other people, God removes that talent from you. He gives it to you to help other people. It is not yours. You see, when I was working in government, just very quickly, because before you start asking, when I was working in any of the security areas in government in Liberia, I never felt that position belonged to me. It was only given to me to hold until they're ready to take it from me. So I was always focusing on my own future once I leave government. So that it's a borrowed role. That's all it is. Any position you get it's not for you. It's to help other people.
Wow.
So go ahead, sir.
That's great. That's great. Mr. King, I will come and then but share with like I said, the CV is long. Even from what I can see on the Facebook, it's quite extensive. I will share with you guys. Just hold on yet. For some of you that want to call later on, you can call later. When you hear, at least when we go a little bit into a discussion, and you want to find out something, you want to ask a question to Mr. King, you are willing to do it. He is on the phone line. So those of you that are watching me live, you can call via the video, and he will also hear you as well. If you want to, you can just write the question down. I will read it for him to hear. But let me go back to Mr. King. Mr. King, first of all, I'd like to find out from you about Liberia. Let's start up with you. I mean, your days growing up in Liberia, how was it like? I mean, was there anything that you can compare with our days, my days?
Well, when I was growing up, I had a mixed situation because at my earlier days, my father was made ambassador to the United States. So I spent 5 years in the United States at the age of from 5 years old up until about 10, 11.
Right.
When I came back home, then I got back into the Liberian society for a while. I went to school there. I went to demonstration school. Then from there to the cathedral school up the hill. Yeah. Not Peter, now the cathedral with Father Tikpo. And then I went to the University of Liberia later on, for my college degree, college life. Okay. But it was different. You had more friendlier people. You had people from all over Liberia. You didn't have any type of tribalism that's going on now. It may have been hidden. So for those of who will say, "Oh yes, it was there," and all that, I didn't see it.
Wow.
We grew up, we played together with people from all walks of life, from all different tribes. We used to play football on South Beach. Marble Richards, Gerald Cooper, Fred Tichy, Kringer Harris, them, the White Kings next door. I mean, we were all together. We played football. We had to sit down and you fight for your jersey. A good player don't fight for their jersey.
Yeah.
So play right now in Coconut Plantation. So it was a different life. You had cinemas. You had all kinds of things going on in Liberia at the time when we were growing up.
Wow.
And it was freedom. You didn't have to worry about this person talking against you and putting you down. It wasn't like that. It was different.
Wow.
At least from how I saw it now. From how I saw it. And maybe others. And, you know, each person has their own memory. But Teacher Guanu was my teacher in St. Patrick's, up in the cathedral.
Okay.
Teacher Guanu, Joseph said Guanu. I still call him Teacher Guanu. I don't call him ambassador. I call him teacher because I make him whip. When he flog you like that, if you don't do your homework or you misbehave in the classroom, he flog you. Janitor, he didn't care who you are.
Wow.
There were Tuckman sons were there too as well. You think people cared about the teacher? President Tuckman used to tell the teachers, if you discipline my son, then you fit to be no teacher.
Wow.
My father does. I refused one day for the teacher Guanu to whip me. I went home. My father called me and said, "Why you doing that like this?" I said, "Oh, when the teacher wanted to beat me, Teacher Guanu, I said, no. He said, "Oh, for true." Okay, said I eat. When we got through eating, he got a driver. He said, "Help me," and flog my behind. He flogged me. Then he took me to the school and they whipped me in front of the class. Double time.
Wow.
So when the teacher Guanu said, "Come in front of the whip," I'm going straight. We have respect for teachers.
Yeah.
We have respect.
But at the same time,
we have respect.
At the same time, the quality of education was there, isn't it? The teachers were qualified.
Oh, of course. The quality of education was there completely. You had professional teachers at in all of the schools. You had Liberian teachers there, professional teachers. They didn't play. They taught you things.
Okay.
The educational system was. I mean, look at some of these. I laugh sometimes when I see, when I hear and I read on the different forums. Nothing good was ever in Liberia, and there was a poor educational system. Some of the people who talk in that thing, ask them where they got their bachelor's degree from to come over here and get their master's. They got it from Liberia.
Okay.
So if they would say that they have poor educational system, then two things happen with them. They either bribe their way to get their degree, or they actually got educated in Liberia for that bachelor's degree before they came over here to do their master's and doctorate.
Right.
So it has to be one of the two.
Right. Now, I'm
sorry. Go ahead,
Mr. King. On the political scene, as far as your days is concerned, we're talking about maybe the late Tubman and early Tubman days and up to the period of Tubman. I know that's the period we're talking about. I would say, like, politically, in terms of maybe government, let's say the people responding to government's, policies and things. Was it something like what we're seeing today? Was there any time that you saw or you people came out in the street to say, "Oh, government money has been misappropriated and we want this money," or was it? What? Take us through. How was it? How did you people deal with issues then?
Let me tell you the truth. I being in law enforcement, I do not concern myself and connect myself with the political atmosphere in the country.
Okay.
I do not address anything political. The only thing I address is when it relates to public safety.
Right.
That's all. And I do so because in Liberia, you have a lot of people would say, oh, I'm with this political party, and then they begin to express their opinion, but then they're in law enforcement. You can't side with anyone in law enforcement. You can't take sides as a police officer security. You're only there to make sure.
Was there any time that perhaps you people that were in the security were, you know, giving hard tasks in terms of controlling the security, and people were in the street demonstrating, they want this, they want that? Was there any time you remember, or it was just you guys were just actually because everything was okay and we met with you people as well? Are born here, I stay here, I die here. Which of course, I mean, life was really, really good. Was it just bread and butter?
No, there were times when during Tubman administration, I will not be able to comment on that with any accuracy. Okay, there are other security professionals out there who were really active during the Tubman time. I joined law enforcement during the Tubman time, but I was assigned different places and took orders from my superiors just like any one of the regular police officers. It was during the Talbot time that I became into the administrative era of law enforcement as a result of my professional training. Okay, so I would rather ask you to ask other, there's a former police experts such as Wilfred Clark, and
I know
Wilfred Clark,
yeah,
who was the SSS director.
Yeah.
But I don't want to mislead anyone and give inaccurate information on the Tubman time. With regard to the Talbot time, yes, there were different programs or situations, should I say, with the I think Barker's Matthew and group, and other political parties. At that time, they did their demonstration and their walks, but I was not involved in the administration and the operational side of those.
All right.
I was mainly a police deputy director of police for CID affairs, administration, a short time as operations, but again, special security services, police academy training.
Okay.
No,
all right.
They did demonstrate. They did have their, programs going on. But
all right.
Besides from that April 12th, rice riot,
all right.
I would say that was the only major one that I can remember. Again,
okay.
I stand to be corrected.
All right. I was just about coming into that now. Because normally, when we're going to school, perhaps when I don't know, those days, perhaps from high school, straight away, your parents will ask you as to what you want to do or so. I don't know, how was it like? But when you, how did you get into security? Was it something that you planned by yourself, or was it the influence from maybe from daddy or from mommy also? How was it? Where did you start from?
I've always been interested in detective work. Oh. And I got interested because I used to look at the police officers in Liberia, and I used to admire the ones that I saw. And you had people like E. Luzon Harmon, who was one time director of police. You had Patrick Minica, who was in the intelligence services. You had a man like Peter Y. Wilson, who was a commandant at the police academy. James Fogba, and Albert T. White, and Inspector Curtis. I mean, these were men that you saw in their uniform who walk in the streets with proudness. And I mean, I just admired them. And you had so many others that I'm not mentioning because of the length of time. But you had Oman Cephas, no, not Cephas. You had Oman White. You had Inspector Procon Pritchett, who was in the records division. You had a lady, the late Edna Ford, who was inspector in the Liberian National Police. You had, I mean, all these were people from all over Liberia, man. And when they walked, you just looked at them. You say yes. You had Salvani, who was in the as a detective. He was later on went into the administrative side, public administration, as Minister of Postal Affairs. But you had Salvani. Those people there, Edward Crump, Francis Gedebeku, those were the people that taught me law enforcement. Wow. They taught me. I watched them. And I said, my goodness, you had another person called Tupman who was at the MBI office. Alexander Bunner. And there were so many others that is you had Edward Massaquoi, who was one time at the chief of SSS. I mean, these were professional people.
Wow.
Wilfred Clark. Those were the people you looked up to.
Yeah.
And then that inspired me to want to join law enforcement professionally. And the late Edmund Harmon told me, he said, Ebu, he used to call me Ebu, he said, if you want to join this police, go to the police academy. You will never regret it. That's the first place you should go. And I went to the police academy. I took his advice. We stayed on police academy for 9 months. We chopped out the grass. We took punishment. We used to clean the bathroom floor, the toilet floor. We had to cold iron to press our clothes. And we had to get up 5 o'clock in the morning to go run from the police academy to shuffling and back again.
Wow.
Wow. They disciplined us. Those were people, those were professional people. And I went to the police academy, and as a result of that, I never regretted. Why? Because I had people, I was sharing a room, we were all, 2, 4, 6 in a room. I was on one bunk. A man from Grand Gita was on another bunk. Another man from Bassa was on another one. Another one from Nunkuta. Different counters. We all slept together in the same dormitory. Used the same bathroom. We had to clean the pots. We had to sweep the floor. We had to keep that place clean. We had to muster for bed inspection. They didn't care who you were. But that's discipline. And ever since I went there, I never regretted. God, when I went back, when I came abroad and took my additional training, when I went back, anytime they would send me to different counties to do investigation and things, I got the information before I even left. Why? Because my former colleagues, my former roommates were in different places.
Wow.
You see? They were telling me, they called me, we had our name, special name. They would give me the official thing for when I was assistant director of police or deputy director, wherever I would go. They would give me the courtesy. Then afterward, we put them on side. They gave me all the inside information I needed. Because we used to be in the same place, man.
So the police academy was actually responsible to train security apparatus for the government.
Yes, to train the police officers and all the other services. They had their representatives at the police academy, to the NBI trained there. We had professional fingerprint technicians, blood examiners, handwriting technicians, the whole bit in Liberia. Wow. Before this thing here. We had all these things that started here that they're trying to start. We had those things before, man.
Okay. Now,
you asked me what inspired me. It was these people that I've mentioned and more that I haven't mentioned. Ishmael Chenoweth. I mean, these names begin to pop up, because it's been over 50 years almost.
Wow.
When I was in law enforcement back home, those are the people I respect. Those were professional people. Salvani, those boys used to solve cases. Homicide cases, rape cases. That's what we used to do. We used to solve cases.
You talked about perhaps your colleagues or those people being well dressed or so. How was it there? Was it any time in point that the men and women of the police used to be complaining of uniform, maybe uniform being wear off, it's not looking good, no badge and thing? Was there any time you experienced something like that?
Yes, we as a developing police force. We were always having at some point in time. But from time to time, they were improved. Uniforms were improved. Mr. Ernest Jenkins used to be responsible for a lot of our uniform and military orders. We used to have professional uniforms. And they brought them in. We issued them out. When they wore out, we issued them again. Yes, there was sometimes someone might say, oh, I was in the police force and I didn't get my uniform. Yeah, but those things will happen at some point in time. But our officers were sharp in uniform. Those that weren't, we try to get rid of them because they were not keeping up to the standard of law enforcement. But you know, as you're building up a force, you have to meet a certain discipline.
Yeah.
And yes, you have political influences at all from time to time in those places. I have political influences too. I had to make up my mind whether or not to go with a political influence or not. And for those of us who didn't go with the political influence and stood our grounds, we didn't last long. To move us different places.
Wow.
It's the same thing.
Wow.
But you do not sacrifice your professional ethics for any type of political thing. You don't do it.
So how was a vetting process like before becoming eligible to go to the police academy? How was the vetting process like?
They got a high school graduate. We verified it from the school. They brought their certificates. We did criminal background check, the best we could in our files. And we also had an interview process at the police academy for those people who had negative characters, you know, attitudes, and why were you joining the police?
Okay.
I can remember, for example, the commandant, Peter Y. Wilson, he asked me, pointing in my face one day, what you can't do here? I said, oh, chief. Pointing in my face, what you can't do here? I said, I want a policeman. He looked at me up and down. You want to be policeman? You want to be political things like your pa, ambassador, and all that thing? I said, no, I want to be policeman. He looked at me a long time, pointing a finger in my face. I was standing at attention right in front of the police academy entrance when we were when we all got up there in the bus and we stood. He looked at me up and down. He said, we will see. He turned around, he went to the next person. When I graduated from there, he looked at me and said, yes, you will be a good police officer, young king. Just like that. Peter Y. Wilson, when he stand before you, you shook. You ain't playing.
Wow.
If you want to, you will shake different place. But no, they ask you questions. They want to know why you wanted to join the police. And they monitor. Now, they monitor you. Did some people fall out? Yes, some people fell by the wayside. Nothing is perfect. You look at a tree in your yard and not straight. It's small bending. You have to nurture it and keep it straight. And that was the discipline. And your self-value. I could not look at myself and fall for any political influence. When I was at the CID, you'd be surprised how many people used to come to me to do political favors. I refused. They used to bring me this. They used to bring me that. They wanted me to release people. I said, no, I can't do that. I said, go bring letter files from the mansion, or go bring letter files from the House of Representatives, or go bring letter. They didn't bring it. They want me can't release somebody, then they turn around and say, I stole money. I fool. No way, man. They used to be it, but you got to be strong. I can remember Let me finish just one thing, please. When you asked about recruitment, when I was assistant director for administration, I used to have on my uniform, and I used to walk to those evening classes right up there on Capitol Bypass. I used to go to the schools. I used to go talk to them to recruit people when they graduate to come join the police force in my uniform. And I used to see 2 or 3 years later, someone would come to me and say, Mr. King, do you remember me? I said, no. They tell me the school that they heard me talk at and how they got inspired to join the police. That's what we used to do. Other people used to do it too. Not myself. There were other people there.
Wow.
So go ahead. I hope I've answered that question a little bit.
Great. His name is Mr. Samuel King. Let me just give you a little bit of background that I have here right before me on his page. He's a former dean at AME Zion College Community College, 1988 1990. Former Deputy Commissioner Police CID at Liberia National Police. Former Personnel Manager Trainer at BTR Security Services Incorporated. I think that's in the States. Former Career Services Coordinator at Stafford University. Former Personnel Manager Trainer at Primary Security Services Incorporated. Former Managing Director at Howard Security System Incorporated. Former Workforce Services Representative at Virginia Employment Commission. Studied Security and Risk Management at John Jay School of Criminal Justice. Studied Liberia Arts at University of Liberia. Went to Cathedral School as well. He's our studio guest this evening, and we are here. We were talking about security and everything, but now we're gonna pick on one of the aspects from his bio that we got here, which is how we have to do with private security settings. Then we go more into in depth of more questions with respect to it. Now, but Mr. King, from what I just read, you later venture into private security sector. How and why was you stay serving as a CRD boss before setting up that, or you left the police before?
I had when I resigned originally, when I went back home, the police force was not operating according to a certain standard. I got fed up and I resigned. I got fed up and resigned from the police because of what I call political interference. I can remember, let me tell you what prompted my first resignation. I was assistant director for administration. When I got back, and some people didn't realize that I was supposed to be approving the police force payroll.
Okay.
So when I called, I had a feeling they were hesitating to bring it to me because they didn't know which way I would go with it. So they finally brought it to me after a couple of months, and they said the director of police said you should approve the payroll to sign it. I said, but I can't just sign payroll like that. I have to consult with my personnel director, excuse me, my personnel chief, who was Inspector Edna Mason Ford, if I'm not mistaken, Inspector Ford, and Inspector Trocon Pritchard was her deputy. Or I think it was lieutenant, I can't remember now. So I called them and I said, please take this payroll and verify it and bring it back to me. Then I will sign it if y'all tell me to sign it. You see, I was administrative assistant director for administration. I do not do things without my heads of departments approving it. So when they brought it to me after a couple of days, they said, Chief, I said, yes. They say there's plenty names on this payroll here that are not in the police department. I said, but then I can't sign it. So they said, well, that's how it used to be before. You just sign it as director and send it back. I said, no, I can't do that. So I sent it back. I called my orderly and sent it back to the director and said, I can't sign this because we have discovered there were names on this in the payroll that are not working in the police, but we have no records of them. Mr. Max, the first time I saw the payroll was the last time they ever brought that payroll to me. They never brought the payroll to me again.
Wow.
They never. And then all through the time, there was a situation where we had a lot of females working in the police force. They were making something like $200, $300. $350, and my officer was making $60.
All right, I think we're losing connection there from Mr. King. We're losing connection from Mr. King, but Welcome to the Max K Talk Show. This evening we are having security expert Charles E. King, who is here today as our studio guest, discussing issues relevant to security. It's always good. We are trying now to actually talk to him about his own establishment, the Hawa Security system in Liberia. I heard of Hawa Security when I was in Monrovia, Hawa Security Systems, yeah, and they were around private security sector as well. We try to blend. We tie in some questions with respect to the day-to-day activities as well, with respect to other individuals forming security and just trying to recruit just anybody who is interested in joining such security. But welcome to the Max K Talk Show. We just lost connection with our studio guest. Let's take a short musical break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have him back on, and so we can continue. All right. I'm sure you must have been aware that the president, I think, stay in Saudi Arabia. But let's go to Bomi County now. Alright, we're going to stop the music there a little bit. Let me just share some of the stories that are making the headlines on our online platforms, Liberian news platforms. This is a News Public Trust, also providing news and information online as well. Okay, let's take these headlines as it is read here. Panic hits Liberians in U.S. as Trump ends DED March 31st. Panic hits Liberians in U.S. as Trump ends DED March 31st. Another headline says here, Justice Jaine cries foul as he testifies in his impeachment trial. This one say, let me see. This one say, Maserati student win Liberia General Knowledge Pop Quiz. U.S. 21 million fisheries project on the way in Liberia, says NAFA. U.S. 21 million fisheries project on the way in Liberia, says NAFA. This one says President Weah attract big commitments for development from United Arab Emirates. President Weah attracts big commitments for development from United Arab Emirates. Further down, let me see. Outcome of U.S. 21 million mop-up audit could rebuild or damage the country's image. Yeah, again, I think the story is about maybe investigations should be up now, right? The result. Okay, outcome of U.S. 21 million mop-up audit could rebuild or damage the country's image. That is not something to actually play with. Let me see whether I can take that story just before we can, I don't know, before our guests will come back, so we can continue from there. Let's take this story. Let me share this story with you. It says here, the executive director of the Regional Human Rights Group in Liberia has welcomed President George Weah's mandate to the General Auditing Commission (GAC) to investigate the US 25 million mop-up exercise. Anthony Tola Thompson Adebayo is, however, warning against any interference by state actors during the audit process to uphold the independence of the GAC. According to the Regional Human Rights Group, Liberia's international image and credibility remain at a crossroad over the recent alleged missing 16 billion Liberian dollars. You remind them again, because we're talking about it, they post say this, that. You remind them again. You remind them that this money is hanging out that cloud over Liberia. And some of them are still telling us that we should shut up. The money business is done. It's that. Let me continue with the story. Mr. Adebayo told the state broadcaster ELBC Radio in Monrovia recently that the outcome of the GAC's investigation into the mop-up exercise of the 25 million United States dollars could either damage or rebuild the country's image. Early this month, March 2019, President Weah requested the General Auditing Commission to do an investigative audit into how the US 25 million given for mop-up exercise was expanded. The executive mansion announced that President Weah's request was given through a directive to Justice Minister Musa Dane. It said that the directive grew out of the Presidential Investigative Team's report, which calls for a forensic investigation of the entire mop-up exercise carried out by the Central Bank of Liberia (CBL), and the report done by CRO, an institution of international repute, which was commissioned by the U.S. government. The CBL, Central Bank of Liberia, is part of the technical committee management. It is part of the technical economic management team, which is headed by Finance Minister Samuel Tuel. And President Weah last July ordered the EMT to carry out the exercise. Last July? The Crew Associates Incorporated report speaks of gross discrepancies and calls for further understanding of how the exercise was conducted. The Presidential Investigative Team (PIT) report also speaks of gross discrepancies in the handling of the mop-up exercise and gross given further by said the implementation of the exercise bordered on criminality. The GSC is given a 2-week mandate to report on their findings. Meanwhile, the Liberian Human Rights NGO executive also wants the government to formulate implementable communication strategies aimed at protecting and upholding the country's democratic values of free speech and of the press. Liberian journalist Jos Ganio Sifos, senior contributor to this story. All right, so you hear it there. It's quite clear. Just a reminder, this story is reminding us actually that the way we will handle this money business, whether it's the $16 billion, is the $25 million, the way we are handling it, and the way we end up with it, it is likely that we can regain our credibility. Well, yeah, somehow credibility, or totally we will damage Liberia's image, and people will be afraid of us. Let me tell you, the only people that will want to do business with people that are, you know, if let me put it this way, let me put it squarely this way. If you are corrupt, only people that are corrupt will do business with you. All right, we're going to stop there and let's go back to
Max?
our studio guest. Welcome back.
Hello. Sorry about that. I don't know why we got cut off, but you know, that's it.
Welcome back, Mr. King. It's great to have you back anyway.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You know, I told you I was in the car, so I'm sure that's what probably in between interfered. Go ahead, sir. We can continue.
Yeah, we're talking about how you actually venture into private sector. You told us how you left. What prompted you to have left the police state, to have left the police service or so, and you started. How you started? What was the remedy? How did you start up the private security sector in Liberia, and how was the process?
Well, when I left the police now, okay, I resigned, and then I said, I've got to start my era of law enforcement. Private security. At that time, Mr. John Reed had a company called At Your Service.
Mm-hmm.
At Your Service. And he had guard services, cleaning services, and maid services, and other type of services. And there were other Liberian also security people, if I'm not mistaken. They also had a security guard services as well. And I said, because when I was in the States, when I was doing my training, I also studied industrial security, which is part of the aspect of private security, just in case I would have to find my way if the people didn't appreciate me.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So I went in and I started with no money, no loan from no bank, no nothing. I had whatever little money I had. I sat down and I planned and I organized what I wanted. I put together a plan of how I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be professional. I looked at all the other guard services. I saw what they were doing wrong. And I said, okay, Liberia needs something different. And I put together the first, Mr. A.B. Salif, the late A.B. Salif was, I called him in to be my assistant. And Miss Anna Cooper was my secretary. And I started on the bottom of my parents' home. The first, I wouldn't say I started there. Yes, I did. I started on the bottom of my parents' home. And I had old chairs and benches. And I used to train my officers under the almond tree. They used to sit on blocks. Whatever we could find to sit down on, we sat down. And I had one big black plywood. I painted it black, my man. And I sat down with my chalk. And I stood up there and I was training them. And I trained them about what it was to be a professional officer.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you start, you train them. You educate them. You give them an understanding that is different from what existed. I recruited. Are you still there?
Yeah. We're listening.
I recruited a young man called Nicholas Doe. And he was my operation person. And we went out and I met people. I went to different offices. And I asked them if they had people who they wanted, their sons or their relative or somebody who they wanted to work. They said yes. I said, well, send them to me. Let me interview them. And we went through the whole process. And then I started, Howard Security started to advance. And when I got all my people together, I trained them first. No officer went on their assignment without training. And I trained them for 3 months. My first contract in Liberia was the Omega Navigation Station. Mr. John P. Tucker was in charge of one HR there, I think, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the first contract I had was with Raymond Concrete Pile. Yes, Raymond Concrete Pile, because they were building the Omega Navigation Station. in Painesville. And I knew how to set up my contract, you see. I had no money for uniform, nothing. But the way I set it up, I was the only company in Liberia being paid quarterly in advance. Quarterly in advance. That was my stipulation.
Wow.
And they paid me quarterly in advance. So my first assignment, I said a certain amount down, and that is what I took to buy my uniforms, to get and then the person who was sewing the uniform, I already was planning. You see, I had all this in the pipeline. That's why I said 3 months before I took on an assignment. So I trained him for 3 months. My first contract, I said quarterly in advance, I need 50% down first. I don't start until 3 months later. And that was it. And up front, I had my operation costs. I had my money to put back into the company, and I just reinvested into all kinds of equipment and materials and uniforms, and making sure that I had my proper officers trained. And I trained one person to be the trainer. He now has his own private security in Liberia. I trained another person to be the trainer. He is now employed by NP, National Petroleum Oil from Sierra Leone, in Sierra Leone and in Liberia. These are professional people now. They learn from me, and I train them. So that's how I did it. I trained my officers to be leaders. That's how I trained them. I told you, I trained people to be better than who I am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what I gave them, everything I could. I gave them everything I could so they can do on their own and be strong on their own. You see? So that's how I got my first contract. And after that, the news of Howard Security began to spread. The officers were sharp in uniform, man. When you saw my officers coming from work in the morning on third shift, you thought they were going to work. That's how smart they were.
Wow.
And when they saw a police officer pass, they gave him a salute. Those kind of things that impress people. The news began to spread. Then Chase Manhattan Bank got interested. Firestone got interested. Bang Mine got interested. All the big corporations began to be interested, not because I went to them and said, you know who I am? No. I competed. I wrote my proposals and sent it in. I didn't go to nobody to go burn my way. Nothing. I went for interviews. I produced myself and I showed my people. And my officers demonstrated. And then I set up an alarm system company and I trained the people how to go door to door in the different estates to sell alarm systems, because I did it myself. I carried my alarm system kit with me back home when I went. I told you I was preparing for anything that happened. You know.
When they
didn't like what.
When you set up the security, this private security, did you, policy wise, I mean, did you have any age limit, or anybody could just come and join?
Oh no, you had to be a high school graduate, no criminal record.
What's about age?
And after that,
What's about age?
Age, you have to be 18 and above.
Oh, okay.
You have to be 18 and above. I went according to the local laws, 18 and above, working laws. But anyway, I set my start at 18, high school graduate, no criminal record, and you don't just come because of that, you sit down. You come and you be interviewed by my other officers. Because if you mess up, you mess up everybody else in the company. And I had people from all the different tribes. All the different tribes would work together. No tribalism was in my company. None. My officers were trained to be professionals. And I stand by them till today. Right now in Liberia till today, I can call upon any one of the Howard security system people. They know how to perform. You have them, they know how to perform. So that's how I started my company, the reputation, the alarm system. We had contracts. We had homes were being alarmed by people I trained. We had 2 alarm system buses. One was going to different places. We installed alarm systems in vehicles, in homes, in businesses. We had a system going. It was called Howard Security Systems.
Wow.
Howard Security Systems, HAWA. Howard security system. And only members of Howard know what that means, what Howard means. And I'm not going to say it on the radio.
We know that. That's a secret. Remain secret.
Only people know what it means.
We're talking to
and anyone who stands in front of another Howard security system and say, I used to work there, they will just ask them 1 or 2 questions. If the man can answer, you never worked there.
I'll tell you. All right, that's Mr. Charles E. King. He is a security expert, and he is on the Max K Talk Show this afternoon, this evening, or this morning, depending the time at your end. But it's great to have him on. Mr. King, looking at it from the perspective of you starting such an initiative in Liberia, where in fact you not only you know it was part of your passion and what you want to give back to your community, but also empowering people by giving them job. In terms of recruitment, was it diverse in terms of male, female, or you were looking at one aspect, the male aspect?
Sure, I had one of my female officers was she was not easy. The boys were scared of her. I had females in it. She wasn't easy. She's deceased now. She deceased during the war. And her name was Annie Baker. She's on one of my. She's on. If anyone clicks on the Howard Security on YouTube, the Howard Security System, they will see her at the bank. She was assigned at the ITC bank, and later on, I made her inspector, a supervisor in Howard Security. When she moved around, she didn't play. And we had other ladies there too. They were not easy. Oh yeah.
Was there any time? Was there any time during the process of training your private security where you took the entire batch to the police academy, or you did your training privately since it was not attached to the government?
No, I did my training privately. I was qualified. I'm a professional. I have all my training to train my own officers. I didn't have to take them to the police because we are not members of law enforcement. Private security stays in the private sector. The police polices the nation. If we catch anybody as a criminal, we call the police and turn them over to the police with the necessary evidence. We were not police officers. We don't do anything except on the premises where we protect. That's where our authority is. And it's only as an authority as a private citizen and to protect the properties of our clients. That's what we did. We were trained for that.
I mean, given the fact now that you passed through the police, as you know, policing, wherein you were one of those that are actually, making a decision for the force as well, and you have men under your command. Given that scenario, and you got into private sector as well, and then carry on with private security settings as well. Is it something that is? I mean, perhaps I would say that it's not really advisable for a private security sector to actually link with the police, with the national police, and train at their ground, or it can be done.
It depends. For example, professionally, if the private security company is being charged with the responsibility of protecting government premises, if they are charged with the responsibility of protecting government premises, then it is natural and proper for them to be trained as to the lead, because let me back up a little bit. When you are protecting the government property, you are in essence becoming part of the security sector standard. You should be trained in the laws of arrest, search and seizure, and you should be trained on government policies as it relates to government premises. Okay? That's how it should be done. You can't just take a private security person and put them on to protect government premises, because at that point in time, you are split. You see, in the Liberian Supreme Court, they had cases in the past where a private security officer, if they're acting on behalf of the government, then they have to subscribe to the constitutional provision that is established for law enforcement officers. You see, it's a succinct difference. The line is there, but if you are acting for the police, for a government entity, then you should understand the rule of law. You should understand you are held to the same standard as the law enforcement authorities. You are held to the same standard. It's a succinct line, and there's a lot of intricate parts that has to be looked upon and worked on. You see, but you have to understand you have to operate within the law. When I wrote a book, the only book in Liberia history, I can't find it now, but it was called Constitutional Law for the Liberian Law Enforcer. And I introduced that book when I formed the Criminal Justice Department at the AME Community College. It was I who started that program there. I organized the program.
Wow.
I organized the program. The first time the program was, the community college came in, they didn't have a criminal justice program. So I went to the Reverend Omoja at that time, and I said, well, how come you don't have a criminal justice program? He said, well, Director King, we never thought about it. Okay. I said, well, y'all should have one. He said, would you like to start it? I said, sure, I would be happy to.
Wow.
So I went around different departments in the school, the psychology, sociology, the liberal arts department, and got the instructors to give me a program, a course that they would recommend. And I brought in the rules of evidence, constitutional law, criminal investigation, and all those courses. And that's how that program started. A lot of people who even attended the school don't know that. But I started it. If it was, and Reverend Omoja, when he was being honored here in the States a couple of years back, and I was there, they were honoring me also, and they gave me a certificate of appreciation. He asked them, and he told them, he said, all of y'all here who are in the criminal justice program, put up your hand. They put up their hand. He said, if it wasn't for Mr. King here, you all wouldn't be having that program.
Wow.
They had no idea. Because nobody told them. Nobody finds out anything before they do something. They just boom. So I started the program. Me.
Okay. All right. His name is Mr. King. Time fast spent. Mr. King, I'm just trying to establish that from your perspective in terms of how you set up this particular private security sector. Let me tie in with the recent development in Liberia as well. We saw a video on social media which is still circulating where a group calling themselves, I think, let me try to find it, it's on the newspaper here, anti-poverty group calling themselves. But they said in the video that we watched, said that they having friends that are coming from elsewhere to establish a private security in Liberia, and so they have been given the authority to carry on recruitment. They didn't say much about in terms of the age range they are looking for, also qualification. They didn't say anything much about it, but all they were encouraging the multitude of people that we saw there that day in the video is that they want to help this government to employ people by virtue of establishing the private security sector. And also they told them that by the time the recruitment exercise is over, this private security organization or sector will go, they will do their training at the police academy. You see, when I was asking you the questions, is here I was driving at actually to see whether we can get some educational thought from you, that would it be feasible for any private level for me to leave from here, or any British person or American person to leave from here, and they say they want to go set up private security in Liberia, they will be working privately. Would it be feasible for them to go and train their recruits at the police academy also? And also, if you can reiterate what you told us in terms of, you know, if you want to, just in case, if I'm thinking about going now in Liberia to set up private security sector in Liberia, what should I go about to do? Let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you. I knew, excuse me. Let me explain something to you. A couple of years ago, let's say that couple of years, when I was back in Liberia, when everything was normal, before the Civil War, and even after the military coup in Liberia,
yeah,
they had Whacking Hut. Whacking Hut was protecting the American embassy and other American facilities. Okay, in fact, only the American embassy. And Whacking Hut wanted to now come out and take on the some of the compounds that was across the bridge that were lived in by Americans, and they also wanted to take over one of the oil companies in Liberia at that time. So I also formed the Private Guard Service Association in Liberia. It was I'm the one that established that. And I was its first chairman. I'm coming to you because I want to explain something. And I have to mention this way. I was the first chairman. And I told him that we had to elect a president. They wanted me to run for president. I said, no, I've been chairman, man. It's for somebody else. Help organize it. Let somebody else establish it. But all the guard services that were there were having contracts in those different places that I mentioned to you, to the other compound across the bridge that was being protected by the other private security companies, Liberian private security companies. So I wrote the Justice Ministry, and I said, you cannot have Whacking Hut, who is here protecting the American embassy and receiving diplomatic immunity in terms of no duty paid, to come out into the private sector and compete with the Liberian security forces. You can't do that. You can't have a man who's duty-free coming to use in a commercial to compete against our private security companies. You can't do that. And I wrote to the government about that. I don't think it ever went through in terms of, I don't think Whacking Hut ever took over that particular American, that compound where the American people were living because of my input there. I was looking out for the rest of the Liberian private security officers, and all of us, for that matter, all of us. So, coming to go to the police academy to be trained, you cannot use a government institution to conduct a training to a private security company that would be used for commercial purposes. You see, unless they paid for that training, and then if the government has established the fact that all private security must be trained at the police academy, then so be it. Then it becomes a law, it becomes a regulation, an act of government, a legislative act, something like that. But they have to be careful, because if you say you're training training private security officers at the police academy, then you are ultimately taking responsibility and can be held liable if anything goes wrong, or those private officers do something. You then, the government, become liable for any lawsuit because you are part and parcel of the training. You see? So you have to be careful how you accept this type of situation. Because if those officers get out and shoot somebody or injure somebody, a lawsuit can take place where they can call in the capability of the police academy staff and all that to train these people. You see, you have to be very careful in premises liability cases and things like that. So whether or not they should be trained at the police academy, a lot of things again are involved. Are they paying for the training? If so, what category, what classification do they have now as a result of the training? And do you also offer those training that you do at the police academy to these people? Do you offer it to other private security companies? You can't be exclusive and just do it for one group of people, you see, for one organization. So if you say you will those people can train there, then you have to open up that door for other private security officers to train there. It can't be just one exclusive thing. And the third thing is coming into the country as a private security company from elsewhere. Now, let me tell you something. How our security went into Sierra Leone. We went into Sierra Leone not to compete with the local. You see, that's what a lot of people don't know. How our security had expanded into Sierra Leone. But I expanded into Sierra Leone not to as a guard service, because clearly Howard security people, if I open up Howard security there, I would have to use the Sierra Leoneans there as part of my organization. But then I would be competing with the local security people, and I didn't want to do that. So when Howard security went to Sierra Leone, we went as a support service. I went to train private security officers, and I brought the alarm systems into Sierra Leone through another Liberian, Mr. Edwin York. He was a professional electronics man, and he gives me permission under the Mano River Union to sell his product that he made in Liberia, a made-in-Liberia alarm system in Sierra Leone. But I couldn't sell it in Liberia because then I would be competing with him. So I could sell it outside Liberia. And Mano River Union, I was expanding from Sierra Leone, I was going to Guinea and all the other areas. Again, I was not going there to compete with the local security, so you don't antagonize them. So now if there's any foreign company from America or elsewhere, England, Britain, wherever, coming to Liberia to open up a guard service, I would say the government should take another look at that and reserve that for the Liberian citizen to be involved in guard service. Because what will happen when what is the foreign company bringing? Because he not bringing no one from America. He's gonna use the local people. So what are their claim to fame? Our Liberian people can handle it just as well, and even know more in how to work with our Liberian men and women than a foreign company. Again, that's what I would recommend, that they look at that and reserve the private security guard service for Liberians. That's what I would recommend. And then again, if you're going to train people in the police academy, then you have to open the door for all the other private security services to train them. And you have to make it affordable for them.
Okay. So in terms of...
But that's... I'm sorry, go ahead.
In terms of recruitment, where in fact, we know right now, I mean, I don't know, in terms of the percentage of young people to, older people in Liberia, the age of young people are, they are more than us, and sometimes it's so difficult to tell somebody age. This is a country that we don't normally get birth certificate when we are leaving hospital after our parents gave birth to us. We don't get birth certificate. Perhaps except there's an opportunity that you need one before you can apply for one. So meaning you can get birth certificate at any time and you can put any age there. Is there any difficulty in terms of recruitment when you want to recruit into the private security, and then maybe somebody come to you and say, well, I'm 18, but perhaps they could be 16?
Well, you know what? This is where when you've done your training professionally, you know how to handle those things. And this is what I'm talking about. If you go to a medical doctor, a doctor can tell you an approximate age of a person. And also, if you go to a dentist, they can look at the teeth formation in a person and determine when and how old that person could be. In other words, if a person is 15 years old and he comes to you and say he's 20, you go to a doctor, a proper qualified doctor now, a proper qualified doctor, not one with a doctor education degree in front of them or a university honorary degree, a medical doctor degree. They can look at the teeth structure and say, no, because such and such a teeth in the back or in the front, whatever they call it, does not come to a person until they're 18 or 19. So if they don't have it, then you're not 18 or 19. There are ways to do it in the medical field, and that's where you go. As a professional law enforcement officer, you know how to make use of odontology, the study of dentists, of this teeth structure, and the medical field. They will tell you, according to the bone structure development and all this thing that goes on. That's not my era. Yeah, so I don't want nobody to say, oh, you're not doctor. I'm not doctor. But I know who to go to make use of their expertise to give me the answer that I need.
Mr. King,
that's how I do it.
As a security expert, with you, maybe let me put you in another context now. Maybe you decide to go back home to Liberia, irrespective whether.
Could you go? Please say it again. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to ask the question, but I just want to establish the grounds for it. I say, just in case, for the sake of this question, yeah, would you, if you have decided right now and say, well, I'm going back to Liberia, I'm going to venture in the security sector, I'm going to set one up. Would you find it pleasing to go to any political party headquarters to go do recruitment?
Oh, no. Okay. I can't do that. There's no way possible I go to another political party. I can't. I have to. The people will come to me who are interested in joining and becoming private security officers.
How will you term this then, sir? How will you term this then? I'm still trying to actually get some pieces of advice from you as well, and with the rest of our listening audience. With respect to trying to attach the question indirectly with respect to the videos that I've just been talking about. Would it be in a good health if for the man, the guy that's doing the videos, to have said that this private security is here to help beef up employment opportunity for the government? Is that healthy for a private security to do that?
It is not healthy for anyone in law enforcement or private security professionally to identify with any one group of people, tribe, or entity.
Right.
Because you will erode the confidence in your ability to be objective. This is why if you are a law enforcement officer or a private security officer, you don't have to inform everybody about your political alignment. No one says that it is a law that you must declare what party you're in or who you're voting for. What party you're in and who you're voting for is your private right. You don't have to tell anybody. Okay, number one. Number two, you have to remember that you are an investigator. You are an impartial person. You cannot have anyone even thinking or suspecting that you are favoring one group of people or one organization over the other.
Right.
You cannot, or else you cannot be an effective law enforcement officer or private security officer. You cannot. Now, if you are a bodyguard, to a person, that's different, because I worked executive protection and I was trained with the Secret Service as well in the United States. That's why I went and worked with the SSS. I was qualified to work there. You are protecting only one person. You have to give your life for that person.
Yeah.
Now, that's okay because you're a personal bodyguard. That's your role. If you fail to give your life for that person, they can prosecute you because you took an oath of office and you didn't fulfill it. You see, that's why you don't just go, oh, I won't be security, I won't be police. You got to understand what you're doing. You are responsible for the life of people. And as a public safety officer, your obligation is to the general public. You cannot take sides. And if you can't handle that decision, don't be in law enforcement.
So I mean, if you are in that category, then it means the Liberian people have the right to ask you many questions. Yeah, if you declare like that, oh, we are here as a private security, but we are here to help the government to fight unemployment. So Liberian people have the right to ask you questions, isn't it?
Oh, but of course, if I went there and you asked me why is it that I want to reopen our security system again, I would say for employment purposes. I will employ people and find private businesses and homes that need protection and put them there.
Yeah, but you
will train them.
You will want to avoid saying I'm here to help the government, right?
No, I'm not here to help the government. I'm here to help the economy,
okay,
which represents and that will help the Liberian people who are looking for jobs. That's why I say a person has to be strong. A person has to know what private security is. A person has to know what law enforcement is. And you have them in Liberia. You have professional Liberians there in Liberia.
Okay, once
but
again,
they are not being recognized.
Once again, you are here on the Max K Talk Show. We have just barely 2 more minutes to go. But let me just remind you of our studio guest. He is Mr. Samuel E. King, speaking to us all the way there from the USA. He actually former dean at AME Zion Community College, former deputy commissioner of police CRD at Liberian National Police, former personnel manager trainer at BTI Security Services Incorporated, former career services coordinator at Stafford University, former personnel manager trainer at Primary Security Services Incorporated, former managing director at Howard Security Systems Incorporated, former workforce services representative at Virginia Employment Commission, State Security and Risk Management at John Jay School of Criminal Justice, and of course study liberal arts at University of Liberia. Mr. King is our studio guest, but as we come to the end, just barely at the end of the program, we hope to invite Mr. King another time when we shall have another topic, especially relative to the security apparatus. We invite him to come. But Mr. King, just before we let go of you, anything else you want to share with us? I know for you, discussion has to be primarily in your area of expertise, which is security. Anything you want to leave with us, especially Liberia?
Yes, I would. Presently, I don't know if you've been receiving or seeing some of the work I've been doing with the young people in Liberia.
Yes,
I've been working through the Youth Crime Watch of Liberia, and we've graduated so far about 30 people, young men and women, in the area of positive thinking and self-development, self-empowerment. And this is what I'm doing every Saturday. I take my time for 2 hours every Saturday, and for a month, I train these young men and women into improving themselves, how to build confidence within themselves, and how to get ahead and be successful in their lives. It's been very successful. I wish that some of your listeners could log on to the Youth Crime Watch of Liberia. There's and see the work that I have been doing from here. I'm so excited because when I train these youth, I get recharged spiritually on this end.
Wow.
And there's another lady, it's called Joanna Bala. She has the Women Association for Women and child development. And she goes to places like Sunnywear and those different little communities in Liberia. And I've also trained young mothers, those young people and from the lower economic scale in those areas. She has had them together, and I've lectured to them again on Saturday for about an hour and 2 hours. And I've talked to them about self-empowerment, about what they need to, how to think, not what to think, but how to think. And they have all reported marked improvement in how they're going about their daily life now, what they're feeling about themselves, and they want more of this to continue. Okay. And for those of you who have children or relatives in Liberia, young men and women who you want to have them train in something or develop them, please let them get hold of the Youth Crime Watch in Liberia, and they will organize them in a way. I'm so excited. They will benefit from the program. Okay. Everyone who has taken this course has benefited from it. So I would like you all to take a look at what's happening at the Youth Crime Watch of Liberia, and also the Association of Women and Child Development in Liberia. Those are beautiful organizations. And if you all have organizations out there that you would like to talk to me about, I would be happy to run a training program for your own people. Okay. Anything I can do to help our young people in Liberia to change their mindset, because you have to have a change in mindset in order to move Liberia where we wanted to go. Okay. If you don't change the mindset, you can't make it.
Indeed. All right, Mr. King, we want to appreciate your time, precious time today on the Max K Talk Show, and we please keep your lines open for us, and in the future we get back to you as well. Thank you so much on this occasion, and we want to say a big thank you for Mama Liberia, the work you're doing as well to transform our society. Thank you, and thank you plenty, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure and honor, and I feel very honored to be able to be invited to your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a very pleasant weekend.
Same to you, sir.
All right, sadly, this is how we're going to end the show tonight. The Max K Talk Show. Our studio guest was Mr. Charles E. King, a security expert, all the way there from the USA. Hope you got something out of him. A great way to share knowledge as well here on the Max K Talk Show. Educational talk we're here for. But this no was say thank you so much for your time. I want to say have a pleasant night from my end. God bless you. God bless the continent of Africa. Above all else, may God bless Mama Liberia. I am out. Kiasi tumema, angalen la tushalo